Hello. It's been a little while. I've kind of been neglecting this series, partially because I don't really care about this episode, but I also don't want to randomly leave one episode out of the series, so let's get it over with. We open with a recreation of a scene from Iron Man, which is fairly accurate for the most part, except for Tony having a different phone, probably because the animators didn't want to model an irregular phone. Instead of the bomb injuring Tony, Killmonger steps in to throw it far enough away that they're both unharmed. He shoots at some people, stops to talk to Tony even though there are still other people trying to kill them, but it's fine because those people have terrible aim. They casually walk out as if they're not in the middle of a battleground. Then the Watcher sums up Iron Man's journey across the MCU for us. He tells us,
"Without Tony Stark's fateful capture in Afghanistan, the age of Iron Man would never come to pass."
Which is true, since he only made the arc reactor and then the suit due to being captured. But this episode takes things a little too far. You'll see. When asked,
"Did you learn any lessons from your time in Afghanistan?"
he gives a trivial answer.
"Never travel anywhere that doesn't have a Four Seasons."
Then, when asked,
Mr. Stark, has this experience changed you?
He responds by saying that when he saw American soldiers being killed by his own weaponry, he sees the necessary course of action as,
"We have to do better. Build bigger and fight badder for them."
Instead of his reaction being the same as in his movie, where he pulled out of the weapons industry. I know he didn't have the 3 months in a cave, but that doesn't mean he's going to take such an illogical course of action. Americans are getting killed by my weapons, so we're gonna build bigger weapons. Yes, that definitely solves the problem, and isn't just going to end up with these guys using your weapons getting better firepower when they get access to your new weapons, the same way that they got your old ones, which you've elected to not investigate. And then,
"I'm bringing in Lieutenant Eric Stevens as Stark Industries' new Chief Security Officer."
So he's shelving his friend he hired to do security because he is qualified, with this random soldier who is not qualified at all, and that he doesn't have much reason to trust. Tony is impulsive, but there's no way he'd go this far, and even if he would, the board of directors, who have enough power to lock Tony out of his own company.
The board is claiming a post-traumatic stress. They're filing an injunction.
A what?
They want to lock you out.
Surely wouldn't allow this to happen. An interviewer's question leads to Killmonger spilling the beans on Obadiah's operation to assassinate Tony, revealing that he found out about it, and that's why he was near Tony. Nobody questions why he didn't tell anyone about this earlier and prevent Tony from going there at all, or get more protection for Tony at that time. He says he got this info because he was undercover for the 10 Rings, so the US sent him as an undercover agent, and he operated on the information he got without ever telling them what he found? This being the case is also very strange, because he showed up in his US Army outfit. It has his codename on it, and supposedly was part of a unit that was stationed elsewhere.
On the day of the attack, his unit was stationed 400 clicks away.
So he wasn't undercover at this point. So he finished his mission and went back to normal duty without telling his superiors at all about what he found? Killmonger's actions here are throwing up a ton of red flags, but he'll promptly get off scot-free and gain an insane amount of trust from Tony. He even has evidence ready to be pulled up. How did he arrange this without anyone here knowing this? What Obadiah did comes as a surprise to all of them. At a party afterwards, Tony promotes him further to COO, which, again, is ridiculous, and even if Tony is this reckless, which I don't think he is, the board of directors is not gonna let that fly. Rhodey got info on Killmonger and presents it to Pepper. When he asks her what seems off, she says,
"Nothing."
So she's really terrible at her job, because as I mentioned in the prior scene, Killmonger's actions seem incredibly suspicious. Tony and Killmonger end up working on automated drones that Killmonger designed. They need more vibranium, so Tony has the idea of getting some from Ulysses Claw. Pepper disapproves of this, as does Killmonger, because it would look bad to have Stark Industries dealing with the black market. So they're gonna send Rhodey instead. Yeah, that definitely fixes things and doesn't have the same problem where Stark Industries is buying off of black market dealers. If this guy's selling things illegally, Why does it matter who you send? Shouldn't it be something you need to cover up either way? Well, anyway, Rhodey goes to make the deal, but mid-deal, T'Challa breaks in and kills everyone, only for Killmonger to step in and use sonic weaponry to take down Rhodey and T'Challa. Killmonger asks Rhodey,
"Why wear the uniform of your own oppressors? Fight for them? Die for them?"
even though Killmonger was part of the US military and did the exact same thing. Rhodey's response is,
"Kid, you gotta be part of the system to change the system."
Huh? Since when was this ever a thing that Rhodey was thinking about? He was never in it for the purpose of changing the system. He was a loyal US soldier to support his country. Rhodey doesn't do a lot in this episode, and this is way out of character. So that's another one for the count. Killmonger doesn't agree with him though.
"Nah, you could burn it down."
And then kills him. Claw says,
"I leaked word of the sale to the Wakandan war dogs,"
as part of Killmonger's plan. I don't know why he would say that to Killmonger, who already knows it though. Killmonger says,
"The Dora will be here soon."
It's strange that T'Challa and the Dora Milaje are both coming, yet T'Challa showed up significantly earlier. Killmonger brings a Dora Milaje spear to Tony while he's watching the news. They got the vibranium, so Tony has to know that Killmonger was present, because the people they sent to actually retrieve it died. I feel like this points to only one possibility for Rhodey's killer. I don't know how dumb Killmonger expected Tony to be, but Tony figured him out. Not because of this major slip-up, but instead because he has footage of what happened. So Tony knows Killmonger killed Rhodey, and he just lets him waltz in with no fear of being killed himself? Tony wants revenge, so he made one of the drones they designed and starts having it kill Killmonger while he smiles sadistically and taunts him.
Whoa, he's got your number, am I right?
Weird behavior for Tony. I don't remember him being sadistic like this. Also, he's just standing there unprotected when Killmonger has a gun and could just shoot Tony to bring him down as well. Which is something he should expect Killmonger to do based on the line,
"Go ahead, call the cops. Still won't get here in time to save you."
Which shows that Killmonger wants Tony dead, whether or not he himself makes it out. Killmonger instead beats the drone because it has no actual weaponry and refuses to do anything that would be a killing blow. Then he kills Tony with the spear. Letting the guy who killed your friend walk right to where you are, giving him the chance to kill you, then trying to kill him with a robot while still failing to have any sort of security stopping him from, even if he's going to die, killing you? Not a great plan. Especially because the robot doesn't immediately go for the kill, it just throws him, allowing Killmonger more chances to kill Tony. None of Tony's decisions in this episode make any sense. He fails to go on anything resembling the arc in Iron Man, despite the fact that he still saw his weapons being used for evil. And his behavior at the end there is kind of strange to me as well, smiling gleefully as this guy gets killed in front of him. Sure, he's always been flippant, and doesn't take things too seriously, but he's actually enjoying the process of killing this guy.
What do you say? To killers?
He's gotten revenge numerous times in the MCU, but he's never acted like this. Take Civil War, for example. He doesn't find any pleasure in killing Bucky. He's just matter-of-factly doing it, because
"He killed my mom."
All of this sums up yet another character assassinated by the show. At the crime scene afterwards, it's revealed that Jarvis was wiped, so there was no footage. Yet another blunder on Tony's part for not backing up the footage from the deal, in case Killmonger managed something like this. And also, with Jarvis involved, you think he would be recording what happens in that room, then automatically notify people that Killmonger killed Tony, rather than just doing nothing than being wiped by Killmonger. I have no idea how Killmonger was even able to do this. Even as COO, he would not have access to Jarvis, much less the ability to wipe him. And it's not like he's some super hacker that can make it through the defenses around Tony's most important software. Pepper insinuates that Killmonger was involved, which Ross thinks is ridiculous because he's a highly decorated naval officer. There's a lot of evidence pointing towards this guy, as Pepper says.
3 murders in 2 days and 1 man at the center?
Okay, wait, hold up. If she's saying that he was at the center of T'Challa and Rhodey being killed, that must mean it's known that he was present at the boat and was the only one to make it out alive. If that's common knowledge, surely more people than just Pepper would be suspicious of him, and the fact that he is a highly decorated officer isn't going to change that. The fact that he has military background, including covert ops, as we see from the fact that he was undercover in the Ten Rings, would surely raise suspicion even more, because he has the exact skills needed to orchestrate this, and make it look like he didn't do it. Not that he did cover his tracks well, but the episode pretends that he did. They declare war on Wakanda, because it's just that simple to do, I guess, and they mass-produce the drones, then Killmonger goes to meet Claw with them. I guess the US was fine sending only this incredibly suspicious guy with an entire automated army, and not supervising, because if they did, then they would know that he was in cahoots with Claw. Claw drives him to Wakanda, then he kills Claw and uses him to get into Wakanda. He goes to see T'Chaka, who trusts him just because he's his nephew and acts nice. Wakanda keeps watch on the outside world. Surely they would have looked into T'Challa's murder and found out that Killmonger was present and was the only guy to make it out alive. And surely it would also be well known that Killmonger is the one who designed the very drones coming to fight Wakanda right now, since this would be big news. As Ross says,
"You just invented 21st century warfare."
And also there's the fact that he knows more about these drones than he should. Shuri tells how these drones coordinate by remotely communicating, and Killmonger says that letting them inside the force shield will stop that. So either he has inside info on the drones, which makes him suspicious, or he is lying and just wants the robots to get into the city. Despite all of this, they still trust him. The US sends the drones in, and they can't see the city because of the shields until they are opened. This episode seems to be mixing together the force shields and the illusion dome that hides Wakanda. The force shield is smaller and can be seen through. We see this in Infinity War. It only covers part of the city, whilst the illusion dome is something separate, that hides anything that would make Wakanda seem as developed as it is. So if the drones have made it to the force shield, they should have already made it through the illusion dome and be able to see the city. Well, anyway, they close the dome and the drones shut down. But Killmonger takes a device out of his pocket and presses a button on it. He easily could have pressed it in his pocket to avoid people seeing him do this, but he doesn't. And the drones start up again. Wakanda goes to fight them, and Killmonger jumps onto a rhino that was randomly left unmounted and rides it into battle. The fight choreography is generally poor. The drones are shown to have guns, and then barely use them, and stuff like that. So Wakanda wins. Killmonger becomes the next Black Panther, and goes to the Ancestral Plane. Then we see that Shuri is in Pepper's office, and the Watcher has a closing narration. It may seem like I rushed through this episode, and that's because I did. This is the one episode I never particularly cared about. Sorry to break it to you, but I am not the biggest fan of the first Iron Man movie. Don't get me wrong, it's a good movie. I just don't like it as much as I like a lot of the other Infinity Saga movies, and don't think it's quite among the strongest the MCU has to offer. And Iron Man 2 is better, don't at me. So I didn't care that much when this episode screwed with its continuity and ruined Tony like this. And I didn't really have a scene I wanted to do an analysis of for the sake of comparison either. And as for Black Panther, sorry to break it to you, but I am not the biggest fan of the first Black Panther movie. Okay, that one's probably less surprising because among the more analytical sphere, I don't see a whole lot of people who think it's an especially good movie, or even a good movie at all. Sure, a lot of people and a lot of critics rate it highly, but I've never seen coherent praise of the writing. Probably because its writing isn't very good, but I'm not going to spend time getting into that today. This episode has the same problems as the other episodes, but in less interesting ways. Tony isn't ruined as egregiously as the other assassinated characters are, and the plot is bad because of plenty of things going Killmonger's way that absolutely should not have, which also causes a lot of characters who are barely characters to be peppered with issues. But it's not bad in an interesting way that requires me to delve heavily into previous continuity, or time travel mechanics, or anything like that. As far as what if episodes go though, it's not particularly bad, so 3 out of 10. Although I think the third episode slightly edges it out, making this the second least bad so far. P.S. Not so fun fact. The guy who wrote this episode, and a bunch of other episodes of the show, has been announced as the writer for X-Men 97 Season 3. X-Men 97's first season was the first genuinely amazing thing to come out of Marvel Studios in a long while, and one of my favorite Marvel things ever. You should go watch it if you haven't, it's just so good. And now they're going to have it written by a writer from my second least favorite piece of media ever. It's like they're trying to annoy me specifically. Well anyways, that's the end of the video. And as always, thanks for watching.